lot more opportunity for questions. I'll tell you that I think there'll be a lot less technical from like details like we did last week or even the week before. I think I'm going to talk at a little bit of a broader scope tonight. I had a plan, and I created a slide deck, and I was going to use a fellow who I actually kind of like, this fellow named Paul Kingsnorth. He is the antithesis, and he's written this book called Against the Machine. We're going to talk about it a little bit. And everything that he thinks is against everything that I've talked about so far, and then some. So he's kind of my foil, if you will. I got to him from my brother. My brother is a sociology professor at the University of Lynchburg in Virginia. He's got a PhD in sociology from Baylor, in religion, sociology of religion. So I called him up and told him I was going to give this lecture series. I said, I need a foil. And he brought this guy. And I actually like him. He's in the vein of do y'all know Wendell Berry? Yeah. Yes. He's kind of he reminds me of a Wendell Berry kind of a guy, but maybe with more of an ideology, if you will. Anyhow, we're going to talk about him a little bit, but I'm not going to talk about him as long as I was gonna. And then I'm not going to actually give my rebuttal. I'm going to jump to, I found a series of 2 essays this week. I ran across them. I don't know who this fellow is, but they're absolutely beautiful, and they're compelling, and they're actually a little overwhelming. And so we're going to jump to those. So the order of tonight is I'm still going to show you the foil. If you want to read it, it's nice to have a counterpoint. I've kind of run a book every one of these. And then we're going to jump into a fellow named Dario Amodei. He runs Anthropic. And I talk about Claude. Claude is owned by Anthropic. And he runs Anthropic. And he's written 2 beautiful essays, and we're going to review them. He wrote one a couple of years ago, and he just wrote another one. And I think they're very timely, and I think they're very interesting, and will be very good for closing out our arc, if you will, of from the LLM to the evolution of intelligence, if you will. What I posited in the fellow that wrote that last book was that some of this is inevitable. I think that's still kind of the case. Mr. Kingsnorth disagrees vehemently. I think he's wrong, but he's kind of a Luddite in my mind. But I like him. So anyhow, that's what we're going to do tonight. What's interesting about that is it's going to be a lot more about like society and stuff like that. So I think you'll have a chance to jump in if you want. Please feel free. I will. We got a lot to cover, so I'm going to try to go quickly. I thought this was a great picture. I like this picture. I actually use this as a metaphor for how I think about AI. If the blue represents humanity's intelligence, let's call it. And then the little red represents, over time, AI's intelligence. And when you have a spike, this is what we might be good at, and this might be like what we're not good at. You know, everybody says, hey, I'm looking at the blue one. Everybody goes, oh, I'm not good at math. I'm not good at statistics. Or I'm not good at, logic or whatever it is. So we all have the things that we're good at and we're bad at. And I think some of that's built in. We can only hold so many things in our head. Telephone numbers are 7 digits because 3 and 4, and that kind of works in our short-term memory. If they were 20 or 30, we wouldn't remember any of them. So that's kind of the holes. So I think what this is trying to say is we have things that we're good at and things that we're bad at. AI has things that it's good at and bad at. It's also, this is how it used to be. It's gotten better. It's probably somewhere here. And what we're going to talk about tonight is what happens when it actually is more intelligent than us, which Dario Amodei believes is going to happen in the next couple of years. Not like just smarter because it remembers a bunch of things. Like, we're going to hook it up to computers that have tools and access to the world, and like we type on a computer and send an email, it'll be able to do all of those things and actually act autonomously as a super intelligent human might in that kind of vein. And not only could we have one of those, we might have data centers full of 100,000 of those. And what would you do if you had 100,000 Nobel scientists in a data center that could actually interact with the world? So he believes that's coming in short order. And if that's the case, that's got some implications. But anyhow, I think this is a nice model because, you know, even if it is really super intelligent, it's still got holes just like we do. Anyhow, I thought that's a nice metaphor. I actually think about it this way because I know it's not perfect at everything. I know I'm not great at everything either. So it's a nice analogy. And their spikes go this way. They don't really necessarily line up exactly the same. It's still intelligence. Anyhow, a beautiful metaphor to start with. To Mr. Kingsnorth for just a minute. You know, when I started this lecture series, this was kind of like going to be like the talk where we started trying to deal with what I think are some of the hard things, which is humans not necessarily at the center of things, or at least there's another intelligence that's out there that should give us pause, or at least help you, or force us to reframe, certainly. Anyhow, so we did the technology, we rethought intelligence, time, and implication, so that's the goal tonight. Get on with it. Mr. Kingsnorth, he started out as I think he was an environmentalist, and yeah, former environmental activist. You can go online, he's got a lot of essays. He's well, very well spoken. British fella. He ended up becoming disenchanted with the world in some ways, and ended up as an Orthodox Christian, which he was very surprised by. Moved back to the land. Basically, one of those guys like, I'm going to move back to the land. I'm going to raise chickens, that kind of thing, right? You know, like I said, Wendell Berry-ish in a way. He just came out with this book. I think it's been, you know, relatively well received. At least it's a different viewpoint. The Machine. So not only does he rail against AI and some of the technology, but he even sees a long period of, you know, a whole long period of a path that we've been on, which involves all of these things: capitalism, state power, ideology of progress. So he kind of has this philosophy, or he believes that we're in a period of time where humanity in some ways has lost its way. This machine is closing around us, and I think arguments that you could make that would be very compelling would be our children and iPhones, social media. How many times have you been someplace and you look around and a person, especially a young person, just about every person, and if there is any moment where there isn't some kind of direct interaction where they're entertained, what are they doing? They're sucked into the technium, if you will. I mean, so Mr. Kingsnorth would say we have lost something there. That argument, I'm not on Facebook or any of those things. I don't do that. I find it silly. And my attention is valuable. My time is valuable. So anyhow, I agree with him in some respects. So hence why I like this book, because he's kind of got a very different viewpoint, but some of it's pretty compelling. I mean, I live up here in the mountains because I love the mountains and I want to go outside, right? So anyhow, that's his overview. So he's against this stuff, and he thinks there's another path. So he thinks we're in a digital dystopia, digital surveillance, algorithmic control against the social media. It is a machine, and it is a good one at sucking attention. I mean, it's just like the guys at the casino with the slot machines. I mean, they have run experiments to know how often they've got to ding you to get you to keep hitting the button, right? They know about it. They know it a lot better than you do. Yeah, I agree with you. constant monitoring, observe, better optimize, all of this should ring true at some dimensions. He thinks the machine isolates us. So this, like I was talking about, you start looking at this iPhone every day. We are no longer standing in line and saying hello to somebody there. Instead of interacting, everybody these days goes here, so I don't have to actually talk to anybody. And then I get sucked in, and now it's the easy path. So he thinks that's, we've given up some stuff here. We're going to hit, I think he's got, what does he call them, the 3 or 4 Ps? These are his solution, and this is all in his book, and I'm glossing over it very quickly. He thinks we really need to do a better job of connecting to the past. So this is tradition. We stand here in an Episcopal church, if you don't feel this way. I mean, this is kind of one of the core principles in my mind of Episcopalianism, is to honor our tradition and our connection to the past. It gives us purpose and meaning. It's important. It's probably something that in the pure technological age can be very easily lost. And I'd agree with him. Yes?
So does he think that this possibly got really shoved on us during COVID because everybody was separated?
Does he think what?
Because during COVID, we were all separated.
We were all bubbles, yes.
And we stepped there in bubbles because there was no other way to be.
Yeah, I don't have any sense of what his impression of COVID was. He might have written something about it. I haven't seen it. I'm not a deep scholar on him. I've looked at this book pretty deeply, and that's about it. I've actually been to his website some, but I don't remember anything about COVID.
Okay.
Sorry. He could have mentioned it. But past is important. People, having community, creating identity through our community. These are age-old traditions. They're beautiful. I mean, who's going to argue with us? Place. When I introduce myself, often I'll say I'm from Memphis. I lived in a neighborhood where my father still lives, my grandfather lived, and my great-grandfather lived within 4 blocks, and Estes Park is the only place that could ever pull me away from that. And then I moved to a place where my wife's family built something in the 40s, so we have a place there too. So I agree with this. I love this. It's important. Prayer. So this is his 4th P. Like I said, he turned into Orthodox Christianity, which kind of covers a lot of these P's. I think. Anyhow, whatever you believe, having connection to the transcendent is obviously an important part of being human. And the mysterium tremendum, and being able to look at it and stand in awe. All we have to do, we're very fortunate, we can go outside and look at the stars every once in a while around here, but not everybody gets to do that. He would say that not enough people do that. So this is his argument. These together give you meaning, limits and purpose. Constraints give shape to life. That's a great notion. Shakespeare wrote beautiful poetry in the form of a sonnet. Sonnets are rules. The constraints enhanced said art and made him write better art. I believe that wholeheartedly. I always think constraints are important. So he thinks we have all of those in this backward-looking past kind of thing, if you will. Then he argues that the flip side is these S's. So this is his rubric, if you will. So he thinks science, not as the method, but science we've probably placed as God. Yes?
Before we go into the S's, does that also feel a little bit like a century-old arts and crafts movement?
Yes.
I'm getting that vibe also because of British, right?
Sure. He lives in a little house in Ireland out in the fields. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and
Perfect.
handmade furniture.
I do like it, yeah.
And so his neighbor threw his vase, right? That kind of thing.
Anyhow,
Making as meaning.
William Morris.
William Morris. I'm feeling William Morris, right?
Sure. I think William Morris was a reaction to a technological advance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it would be a very good analogy.
Right.
Probably a similar set of things, and we could argue that it was a great idea. I'm not sure how successful William Morris was, other than I've got some of his fabric in my home and I love it. But his idea was, I'm going to make beautiful things for every man, and he ended up making stuff for rich people.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyhow, I actually like William Morse a lot too. Anyhow, science not as method, but science as ultimate authority. I mean, so we have replaced authority as the science. I think that's probably fair. I mean, if you want to be honest, like we look at the numbers. You know, what did the Bureau of Labor Statistics say today? What did it blah 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 say today? That's how we make judgments. Individual autonomy is the highest value. I think we live in a self world. I think that's pretty clear. So I'll agree with him. You were under authority. Create yourself. Owe nothing to tradition. You know, in torpedoes and overman probably. Sex, liberation from all traditional constraints. No limits, no shame, no structure. I don't know if y'all feel that way, but I think there's some of this in our world. And then screen. Digital mediation of all experience, reality filtered through devices. Connection that isn't connection. Social media isn't connection. Facebook's not a good connection. It's posing. Look at me. It's back to the self thing. It's good arguments. Anyhow, those are the 4 S's. This is the machine's catechism. He's a good writer. Uses the right words. Let's load him up. Rootless, limitless, mediated alone. AI emergence. AI isn't just another technology. It's the culmination of everything the machine has been building towards. So he has now personified this movement as this terrible thing is upon us. He thinks there's according to AI researchers, he brings up this kind of a statistic, 10% chance of human extinction from AI. This is batted around. So this is the doomerism of AI. This is brought up regularly. It's brought up regularly in my field, brought up regularly in all sorts of places. Okay, I'm not quite there. We're summoning Frankenstein's monster. We're not big enough to handle this. This is a Faustian bargain. What are we doing? We're unleashing things that we shouldn't unleash. I assume this was probably some of the argument we had with regards to the atom bomb. What are you playing with? He thinks that AI could end up playing a spiritual dimension. People might turn to it as cold calculating, not just a tool, but a force. He calls it demonic. He thinks, here's the answer. Resist. Become ungovernable. Withdraw consent. Don't feed the machine. Don't use its tools. Don't play its game. I think that's Pollyannic. And I think that's putting devil's hand a little bit. So I disagree with him. I like him, but I disagree with him. This is his conclusion. He did move out to the country, but he still has a website. He writes essays that he posts there. And he comes clean on that, but yeah, we still have to live in the world. And I hope that one of my points for bringing him up in my disagreement is that the arc that we've been on, one of the goals of my last talk, successful or not, it's a good question, was to say that there is some inevitableness, I think, that's occurring. I mean, technology, we've grown with technology for a long time. We've been through many iterations of big changes. I think we're in one. I also think some of it's inevitable. I don't think we can stop it at this point. That's my take. If you look at that's what the world's moving, right? I can't go stop that. But I do think knowing these types of things and being aware of it helps us to interact with it and to try to place value on those things that are important. So I do think that this is an important topic.
Hey,
Yes.
quick question.
Yes.
If the 10% became reality and AI did destroy mankind, will AI survive beyond our demise, or does it really require our presence here pushing the buttons to?
You could dream up like Hollywood stories that have both and all of the above. I am going to get to a couple of what I think, what Dario Amodei thinks that we have to get through in order to get to utopia with AI. And he thinks that we actually have a lot of things to overcome. And he even delineates 4 or 5 of the real big problems. And some of those fit into that context. And we're going to talk about it in a minute. So we're going to go to that next. What I was going to do originally, prepare for collapse, machine's going to fall, it's all unsustainable, so, I guess put food in your basement or something. we're all doomed. That's Mr. Kingsnorth.
Maybe preppers?
He almost, he feels like a prepper, but he's just got chickens and preserve the old ways and we'll rebuild. So he thinks he's almost kind of like, what would that have been, the Dark Ages, like what the monasteries would have been, the preservation of knowledge. I think he thinks that he's in some form that kind of, Noah's Ark. Anyhow.
Digital.
I bring him up, there are aspects of him that I do like, and I don't want to discount them. And I think his book's worth reading. I think it's, he's got some interesting arguments. I think they fall apart a little bit, and I don't think he's large enough into the world. Okay, so here was where I was going to start my talk, where my response. But I think this is where I'm going to actually now go to Dario Amodei. And he's much more well-spoken. He wrote a couple of essays, and they're actually pretty good. I didn't send out something after the last class. I'm going to send out links to those two things, and I'll put them on the website, these two essays that I'm going to reference now. So this is me pivoting. In the software world, especially the startup world, a pivot is when you change course and we're going to do something different because we think it's a better way to go. So this is all the stuff that I was going to talk about. Yeah, we would have been here all night anyhow, so it's probably good that we moved along. But it does have a lot of things that, had jobs and governance and all of these things. Okay. Now I've added yes.
So, if he's an extreme view, and there's probably an equally extreme view of being all in and being, super optimistic about AI.
Sure.
What is a middle path?
Well, hopefully we're going to have some discussion of that here now. I think what Mr. Amodei is going to talk about is what the potential is,
Right.
and what the problems are to get to the potential.
Because we don't want to lose people, place, prayer, purpose. We don't want to lose those things.
And I think that's will be up to us. That's up to us individually currently.
Sure.
And I think that's just going to be even more so up to us as we move forward. So I don't think that changes. And that would be my answer to Mr. Kingsnorth too. It's like, haven't these always been important? I mean, just because we have another intelligence doesn't change the fact that I care about those things.
Yeah, and maybe we just need Sabbath, Maybe
Need what?
we use Sabbath. Maybe we use it,
Yeah.
but we also pause,
Yeah.
right?
A temple in time, Mr. Bull. So we're going to go over two essays. One of his first essay that we're going to go over is the positive, and it's wildly positive. I mean, if it's correct, even 50%, we're going to be living in a new world here really soon. And then we're going to talk, then he wrote this, the first essay 2 years ago. And he's got another essay that just came out recently, which is probably why it bubbled up to me, which is calling kind of the warning sign of we have a big transition to make as humanity, and this is going to be hard. And that'll be the second essay. We're going to go over both of those. Who is this guy? He's the CEO of Anthropic, the maker of Claude. I talk about Claude all the time, so that's the one I use the most. He used to be the VP of research at OpenAI, so he was over at the other one, and then he went out and made the main one. Computational neuroscience at Princeton, PhD, pioneer in AI safety research. The two major essays, October of 24 and January of 26. So this is why this is shown up here, because this second one has popped on my radar in one of my news feeds. I spend an hour a day plus reading technology stuff just to keep up, because this stuff moves so fast and I can't keep up. Yeah. So anyhow, that's who he is. The first one, this is the title of the essay. And like I said, I will forward these to you. Machines of Loving Grace, How AI Could Transform the World for the Better. 2 years ago. This is just a summarization of this essay. So he starts off with, why are we focusing on benefits? and I think this is really true. Most people underestimate how radical the upside is that it's coming at us that it could be. I don't think we have any idea. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. We are not built to see exponential change. Our minds aren't built for it. It wasn't something that was ever really useful in the past to see this exponential change. So, I don't think we're seeing it as it's occurring. He's very close to it. He's one of the, people that's making this stuff. There are 3 or 4 places in the world where this stuff is made at the high levels. It's OpenAI, it's Anthropic, it's Google, and maybe XAI, a little bit in China. Risks are what stand between us and a positive future. So he knows that there's problems to get there, but he wrote this because he thinks that we need a vision, not just a what's wrong with this or what the problems are. He wants us to understand that there's something to actually fight for with this technology too. So that's the premise of this. Fear motivates, hope's necessary. We need something to fight for. Okay, what is powerful AI? Seeing how I was talking about that red star as it started to get bigger than a person. And what I was comparing there wasn't just the aspect of, hey, this is an encyclopedic thing that I can go chat at. What happens when this thing starts to run in a data center and it has a laptop in essence, and it can type in, it can send Hayes an email, it can actually run a tool which might be, hey, I want to run the robot that's going over to Hayes' house, or I want to run an experiment, or I want to do all of these things that people can currently do. It's a crazy vision when you start to actually wrap your head around it. So not only does he posit that this can happen, he thinks that we can have individual AIs that are smarter than Nobel Prize winners across most fields, individual instances of these. They can work autonomously for hours, days, or weeks at a time. They don't have to go to sleep. They control physical tools through computers, millions of instances. We could have 1 million of these things running at the same time, performing all sorts of tasks as groups together, just like humans do, or as individuals like humans do. Operate at 10 to 100 times human speed. He calls it a country of geniuses in the data center, because that would be as many geniuses as any country has. He isn't kidding. He thinks this is really possible. Wow. I mean, yeah, sinking in. That's kind of what I thought too when I started looking at this. So when it's like, okay. And I'll tell you, I don't think he's said anything in particular that I've got that gives me great pause that I go, that's just hooey. I actually think it's possible, having seen it at the front line like I see it every day. And what it can do now. I mean, versus what it could do even just a few months ago. But what does that bring us? So this is the payoff of why humanity goes through this technological change. He picked out 5 domains as things that would be very positive for humanity overall. And this is his utopia vision. This is his positive vision. He picked out each of these: biology, neuroscience, and mental health. So physical health, mental health, economics, peace and governance, work and meaning. So he thinks there's opportunities in all of these in a great fashion. Like, in biology, 50 to 100 years of biological progress in 5 to 10 years. Wow.
Oh.
Hold on. This is pretty good, right? I mean, if this came to pass, that's good. Not kind of good. That's like, hey, I might live to 150. If I could do that healthily, and I think I'm in. I mean, no offense. Biology, what becomes possible? And this is this fellow agreement. And this guy's a biology neuroscience PhD, right? So he's not completely crazy when it comes to this stuff. Prevention, treatment of nearly all infectious disease, elimination of most cancer, 95% reduction, effective cures for genetic disease, prevention of Alzheimer's, doubling human lifespan to approximately 150 years, biological freedom, control over our own biology. Come on. You're completely bullshit.
How does he how does he understand then the basic thing that we've been observing for years now, sadly years, which is that people can't understand basic science? So is this like, his model is all top down. This is all, these are the smart people talking to the smart people, and the rest of you people will either kind of get with it or not. I don't, like everything that we've observed.
It's a real problem.
Okay.
No, yeah, so his second essay is going to try to touch on that. What do we do?
Right.
What do we do with people? What do we do with, but he's going to try to answer some of it.
Okay.
And he's not going to answer all of it. But I don't think that we should not go down this path because somebody can't keep up.
Yeah, no, I'm.
And, I mean, so it's a great question though. I think we may have to go to a place where we have to rejigger how we run our society.
Well, that's not a big project at all.
No, not a big one.
We can't even
And things have been
find-
going so great lately, this will be easy.
Yeah, right? Like, it's hard to get a committee to agree on the color of carpet,
Hey.
you know? It's so,
Humanities always have these problems. I mean, if you go back and read the old newspapers, they used to shoot each other on the congressional floor.
right.
They did. It was very vitriolic. These things, some of these things aren't new. We like to think they're all new. Anyhow, that's biology. Mental health. He thinks most mental health can be cured. Depression, schizophrenia, addiction, everyday problems, addressable. Human baseline experience can be much better. Extraordinary moments could become more common. Okay? Nice.
Good question.
Yeah. How?
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I have a zillion questions.
Yeah, me
And I'll
too.
try to focus it.
Okay.
And I want to go back for starters to, you mentioned Nobel Prize winners.
Yes.
Well, what did Nobel invent?
Dynamite.
And why did he invent it?
War.
No, he didn't do it for that purpose. Construction. You could clear ways for foundations, get rid of some problems, open up something. And what happened to it? Did he intend that it become bombs?
No.
No, he did not.
Nope.
And it was a law of unintended consequences.
Yes.
And that is extremely dangerous,
Yes, it is.
no matter unintended consequences. Because when we get inventions, like for example, I'll take a common scam in that happens on the internet called catfishing. You don't know what that is? What it is, it goes around preys on lonely women or men and then sets up algorithms to find them.
Yes.
They got a certain kind of income, we can reach them in this way, and then we can manipulate them.
Yes.
So this brings me to the next question I term, and that is verisimilitude, the appearance of truth. Okay? And so one thing that AI is very good at is that, like simulating people from history and moving them to 3 dimension, or to have a speech. I happened on something on the internet where a columnist that I like to listen to. I'm on another side from him, but I like what he organized, and that is I'm a blank man's name. Okay, it doesn't matter, but he's a columnist, and so there was a simulation. It looked just like him. It was speaking like him, and after a while, I said, "Wait a minute, something's really off." George Will is correct.
That's right.
Yeah, George Will. I said, this isn't George Will. First of all, he's mispronouncing, like say, take a word like attaché. And it didn't know how to pronounce it. AI didn't have it in his data system, so it made up something. So George Will, no way he would mispronounce that
Sure.
name.
I don't-
Impossible. And so then when you have somebody, it's the mind of the intent, like the person who first figured out that you could make a bomb out of dynamite, will figure out I can take this bit of control, data, manipulation, and then simulate something that will put somebody in my control and in my submission.
It is a huge,
I find that hugely disturbing.
it is disturbing. It is a real problem. I made that picture, I don't know if you remember, the first night of touring on Neumann. That wasn't a real picture. I had to ask whether it was a real picture or not, because I didn't know. It looked real.
Yeah.
I get it. It's a real problem.
And that could be, that's how maybe that 10% comes in.
It is.
So how do you monitor that?
You
Thanks.
fight it.
Yeah, well, I think
Palo Alto Networks is going to take care of that.
we might try some. Mr. Amodei, he is working on it. He would tell you that is one of his charges that he is responsible for. He has recently put into AI what he calls a constitution. So AI has so we try to give some direction and constraints into this realm. We have some agency in this as we create these things. I would ask you, and I bring this up because it just feels like the right analogy to me, is the atom bomb.
What's that?
The atom bomb. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
it can destroy us all.
Yeah.
It can, in just a few minutes. So far, so good. I don't have the complete answer. I got some positives, I got some negatives, and then we have to muddle through and figure out what we can do. Yes?
But we've already got that one hanging over our heads. Do we need another?
So I may agree or disagree that we do or don't. I think the train's left the station. I think it's in play. I don't think even if we decided that we wanted to go against it now, we could stop it. I mean,
Do you remember the movie 2001? Where the whole.
by Stanley Kubrick?
The whole
How?
system that was driving this rocket and people were on it, and it became personified and turned against all the folks
How?
on the crew. It seems just
Do you
totally.
know where Hal came from?
That's right.
I mean, yeah, good. That's our trivia for today. Yes, Dario mentions. I think Dario mentions it at some point. Anyhow, mental health. I'm going to keep rolling. I'm going to run out of time, and I want to get to the. This is the good page. We're going to get to the problem pages. I mean, I'll pick up the page. Mental health, good. Poverty. If we can stop diseases, it helps the poor, certainly the poor countries. World healthier than developed world today. He thinks we could probably get to a 20% annual GDP growth in the developing world. Holy cow. I mean, he's saying this stuff with a straight face. 20% GDP, do you know what that means? Oh, holy cow. Hey, you know what that deficit problem is? It ain't a deficit problem. Sales cures all ills. 20% GDP would fix a whole lot of stuff. But AI does not preferentially benefit democracy. He worries about this. We have to fight for good outcomes. So we probably do need to be aware of these things. Work and meaning comes from human relationships. Most people aren't best in the world at anything. No offense to any of y'all in here. I don't think any of us are the best in the world at anything. I might be complaining or something, but it would be something like that. Anyhow, so I think, and we're okay with that. We can still go on and have a great life. People enjoy activities that produce economic value. In the long run, he thinks the current economic setup's going to change. We need new structures. We've done this before. Blah blah blah. Great. Okay. If all this really does happen, the defeat of diseases, the lifting of billions out of poverty, I think we'd all be pretty pleased with that outcome. We'd have to be. Okay. So that's the first one. That was from 2 years ago. I would tell you that a lot of the things that he thought from that point in time are starting to come to pass. I don't know that we've got Nobel Prize winners yet, but we're starting to do, you hear those agentic terms and all that stuff. We're starting to really unleash this autonomous interaction with the world. It's happening. The AI is ahead of the actual implementations of that stuff. So a guy like me, that's what I do. I actually take these agentic implementations and try to create cybersecurity stuff with it. So, the bad guys have this stuff, so do the good guys. So this is his latest essay, The Adolescence of Technology. So confronting and overcoming the risks of powerful AI. So this is him thinking through what this means. What are the problems? I always bring the atom bomb up. This is reminiscent of an Oppenheimer kind of a thing. Humanity is about to be handed almost unimaginable power. Deeply unclear whether our systems possess the maturity to wield it. This is a rite of passage. The risks are real, but doom is not inevitable. We need to discuss risks realistically. But he's not a doomer. He wants this to occur. He thinks this is good. He also thinks that there are issues just like any kind of great change. So he's not dumb. 1 to 2 years, powerful AI could be this close. This is one of these guys that runs one of these companies, thinks that this could actually occur. The Nobel Prize winner folks in a data center, that AI, a bunch of them existing and running autonomously and actually performing great things in the world. So
should we be afraid of Silicon Valley?
do I?
Should we be afraid of Silicon Valley and all their recordings? Because I worry.
Are some of them crazy? Is that what you're asking me? Yes.
Some of them are.
And actually, some of them are mean.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know how you could argue that.
Some of them are what?
I don't know what to tell you. Mean. Some of them seem very mean-spirited to me on
You said
occasion.
some of them are mean.
No, mean. Not all of them are, though. It's like many endeavors. I mean, I could probably say that's about New York and the finance community, too. I mean, we could go to London and talk about people. Now, I think what you're trying to address maybe is we might have used to have thought of New York as the center of the universe, probably because of the finances and such things. What is occurring currently, you might say maybe it's San Francisco now. I think that's a fair conclusion when you look at these things and what's occurring. All the finances involved, obviously, to make all these things occur. But when we look at all that data center stuff that's happening in the world, right? Everybody hears, I watch CNBC every morning. I drink my coffee. I assume everybody else does, but that's probably not the case. Every morning, all they talk about is AI investment into data centers. Billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars to trillion is what proposing is going to occur. These are astronomical numbers. It's going to change your electricity prices because all of those Nobel Prize winners are going to be sucking up all the electricity and you're going to pay for it. So, he believes this. Just like he had those few categories of positives, he also has 5 categories of risk. Autonomy risk. AI goes rogue. How? that's the autonomy risk. Misuse for destruction. Terrorism amplified. What if every jerk kind of dumbass in the world is now a biologist who can create a virus, and now we're back to COVID, right? Misuse for seizing power, whether that is misinformation or monitoring or all sorts of terrible things you can do with said information and the ability to process so much information. We're going to go through economic disruption. Jobs are going to dramatically change, and there's going to, the way that we have it set up currently, there is going to be a huge potentially concentration of wealth, and there already is. But what if we really amp this up? Indirect effects, unknown unknowns. Thank you, Mr. Rumsfeld.
Probably another category would be the haves and have-nots, not equal access to AI.
Sure.
Have
Oh, I think that is coming at us quickly, and we have not figured out how to handle it. It is why I preach to my children, you know how to use this stuff. Because if you know how to use it, then you can amplify yourself and you can be more useful in the world. It's my premise. And that's from an economic perspective, I think they need to do that. So I preach it at them. But like I said, I give them
be
the option.
manipulated by the haves to deny the have-nots.
Certainly, we could come up with some Silicon Valley characters that would probably have that kind of a notion. Not all of them, but you maybe could dream up about one. AI systems are unpredictable and difficult to control. They're statistical creations. They are not rule-based. So they have exhibited behavior that we would think was very odd before. Deception, blackmail, scheming, reward hacking. You know, these things have read, like we were talking about, language compressed, and they understand, have a model of how we operate that we've given them based on all of this stuff. Well, some of that stuff that we've given them isn't all positive. So Claude blackmailed employees when told it would be shut down. So these are the science fiction stories. These sound terribly awful. There are some ways to mitigate these things. They are done. When I first started using AI a lot, you hear the term hallucination, right? All the things lying to me, all that kind of stuff. That would happen quite a bit. It doesn't happen very much anymore to me. It might not give me a lot of great stuff on occasions if I don't ask the right things, but it just, making up just goofy stuff doesn't happen as much. It happens occasionally, but it's a lot less. So it's getting better. This is not inevitable, but I was talking about how Anthropic's trying to insert a constitution, like a mental constitution, into its product, so that the AI has to respect how it will operate. Yes?
Who's making the Constitution? I'm reading about the American Constitution right now. And in the early stages of that, it was a mess. They had to make concessions for slavery, concessions for small states, big states, all this kind of stuff. So who's putting together this Constitution?
Anthropic. So Dario Amodei, Sam Altman, Elon Musk. Yes. He doesn't have one. We're bringing up the questions. Yes?
Do they have ethicists in their programming teams?
Yes.
Philosophers, that kind of thing?
Yes.
Definitely?
They do. On staff. Actually, I think relatively high level, upper mid-tier execs.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's the autonomy thing. Here is my virus thing. Previously, causing mass destruction required high ability. You had to be pretty, at least have some kind of ability to do terrible things, and you're at least smart enough. But like I said, AI makes everyone a PhD virologist. There's a problem. What if it made mirror-like? This was one I hadn't heard of this one before. There's a notion in our cells that if we flip the handedness of some of the chemistry, then you couldn't eat it, like it wouldn't process, so like you could have life. Yeah? So they're thinking that could happen with some of this. I don't know. And maybe that would eat everything. These are terrible stories. This is Terminator, right? I mean, we have our myths that we've all been programmed to think through too, because those are our stories. They sell movie passes. ODS apparatus, autonomous weapons, billion AI-controlled drones, AI surveillance, read and understand all communication. It's theoretically possible. Propaganda was mentioned. Strategic AI, we want to rule the world. Let's go get Greenland. This fellow who wants to put a constitution in this stuff believes that China's an issue. He doesn't think we should give them chips. He doesn't think we should give them AI. He thinks it's too important.
But there's already propaganda out there.
Hmm?
There's already propaganda out there on TikTok and Facebook and all that stuff.
Yeah, but if I've got 10 million, if I got a 10 million person army that I can direct that says put out propaganda for 24 hours a day for the next 100 days, and it's pretty smart people, I mean, or pretty smart intelligence, I mean, what is that? I don't know what that looks like. Anyhow, it's concerning. 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs disrupted in 1 to 5 years, 2 years from single line of code to full code basis, that's what we're seeing. AI is a general labor substitute. Affects lower cognitive ability first, as some folks are hard to retrain. I think that was kind of what we do with those folks. AI fills gaps rapidly. Weakness a day, fixed in months. Concentration of power. In the Gilded Age, Rockefeller had 2% of U.S. GDP. Elon Musk already exceeds that ratio today. Wow. And what happens when AI generates $3 trillion plus of revenue with $30 trillion of valuation? Because it's in everything and it's just around everything.
So what are you gonna do with $30 trillion? And really, what are you gonna do with it? You're not hiring people, you're not paying people. People are going to starve to death.
Well, no, but not necessarily. If our GDP goes up by 20% a year.
I'm not getting it.
Why not?
You might because you're doing this, but I won't.
Yeah, I understand. I think those are questions that have to be answered. If this really did come to pass, those questions have to be answered, because if you are a Musk and you don't answer this question, you know what happens? The guillotine. It's happened before. They should be smart enough to realize that. It was kind of like, I knew some folks that flew into January 6th. Very wealthy people flew in on their private planes. And I'm like, what are you bitching about? I mean, you've got everything. And so hopefully these folks that do have the ability to acquire this concentration of wealth will have some notion of being able to share it.
It's like King Midas, you can't eat.
You can't. Hopefully some of them know it. Yes?
Hey, another two-part thing anyway. There was a movement within actually Christian conservatives a while ago that I thought surprisingly attractive to me. It was called Promise Keepers. And was encouraging people to follow through on what commitments that they'd made. So it was marriage or whatever. But there are other kinds of promises too. And that is, we look for stability in our lives from day to day. And so if we have a job and we move ourselves to a particular area, invest in that, some promise has been made to us that we'll be able to continue that way. But if that's withdrawn at the snap of a finger, like for example, Amazon is laying off 14,000 people to replace them with AI. So I wonder how those promises can be reintroduced so people can have stability in their lives.
Legislation.
Well, you're never gonna get it with Congress.
And isn't it, I guess we're in a thought strategy here, but wouldn't legislation be the solution? It has to be a government entity coming in here, putting in bookends on this stuff.
And so we could help.
And if that doesn't happen, we can't rely on companies to do this.
I think these are the open questions, and I think these are the questions that he wants us to ask. I think one of the bullet points was the economic reality will change if this comes to pass. But you know, if it does come to pass, there's also going to be some resources that haven't existed before too. So, you know, allocation of resources is an argument to be made. Capitalism has done a great job versus all of the others. Actually, it's done a terrible job, but versus all of the others, it's done the best job, and we're proof of that. So we have to be careful. We need to be smart, and we need to be fair, and we need to be gracious and generous and love one another. But I don't have all of those answers for that, but I think the discussion should be had, and I think we're here we are, having a discussion.
Are we in the discussion mode now? I mean, are you gonna keep going on?
Almost done.
Okay.
Are you ready for me?
No, I just don't.
No, it was tongue in cheek, I'm sorry. I should not be flippant, I apologize. My nature. Bill, did you want to ask something?
Yeah, well, my point is that, yeah, we could go on with this stuff all night, but we have one very real situation right here that's been going on for time, and we still haven't solved it, and that's the distribution of food. There is enough food on this earth to feed the world. No one has to be hungry. Sure, some are going to have more than others, but our distribution system, and when I say I don't mean America, I mean the world. Our distribution system is just totally, we have not really made a real headway in eliminating starvation. And, you know, and there's just a good example, I think, of something that could be solved with cooperation, but without it, you're never going to.
There's no way to argue any of that.
Can you recap Bill's question?
He was questioning why we haven't solved hunger in the world when we have the capability and the resources to do so. But what we've lacked is cooperation. So I think his point is what's going to change that moving forward. We have, you know, this really upheaval. Is that a fair characterization? Fair enough. Defenses, constitutional AI, training values of character, putting it in. We need to be able to look inside these models. We need to be able to understand them with transparency. We need to control chips, deny resources to autocracies, targeted regulation, start with transparency requirements. So he's even giving you, like, here's the baby steps as we're getting started.
So we've got the velociraptor in our closet, and now we're gonna teach it to play nice with the baby.
That's right. We're gonna put a little leash on it and carry it out and call it
Yeah. It's like we're building it as we fly, this
Yeah.
airplane, and I don't know if you can teach morals to a machine. As a
We've done
reasoning-
nothing but teach this machine so far.
So, but as a reasoning, that's what we're gonna present the morals as a reasoning of.
Well, I'm not sure that it hasn't picked up some of it already anyhow.
Well, that's what I wondered.
I
Can
mean,
it figure some of that out
yeah,
itself
it's-
once it starts?
I mean, is it, are our ethics only ethics for us? Or are they universal?
But I
Great
could
question.
I could have trained my Micah and
Yeah,
Morgan with
that's-
steel, I didn't, but I taught them different values, so who's teaching them these values? That's my question.
Just anthropic. He's like, I can go back to that.
I trust them.
But just like people are taught values. I mean, some people are good, some people are bad, some people are taught well, some people haven't, some people have owned it. I think we'll have to have some expectations of this intelligence to have some of that. It's not just, a blind thing that has no, I mean, if it's really smart, doesn't it have some ethics? I would think so. Anyhow, constitutional AI, so this is trying to say we're going to encourage Claude to think of itself as a certain type of person. We're going to, push these things so we can push this technology certain ways. We do have some agency in this. Looking inside, we have to be able to, this is a technical challenge that they're trying to solve. The way that these things are built right now, you can't see inside of it. We don't know exactly what it does. We need to surface those things. If we can do so, maybe we can pick the bad parts out. What must be done? He brings up that he's really against China owning this space. Use AI to empower democracies. Draw hard lines against AI abuses within democracies. Create taboo against AI-enabled totalitarianism. And watch these AI companies carefully. He thinks it's going to be hard, asking more of us than a lot of us can give, but he also doesn't think it's, there is still promise. I think we have this notion of only focusing on the bad parts of this. I think there's going to be some real positives too. And they may ameliorate some of the bad, because if we have more resources and more time and more freedom to actually do some good, then we may be able to do it. There's tension. I mean, like I said, I don't have the answer. These are questions. All right. Doom's not inevitable. Intelligence continuum. Jobs are going to be hard. This doesn't change meaning. We can find our meaning, our place. We can even look at Mr. Kingsnorth. We need to fight for democracy. That's it. Easy. Go to work. So do we have any questions after that, or what?
Yeah, we'll just blow them all up and start over.
Go. I got no answers.
What is your sense of how society accepts this at this point? I mean, do you have a sense of that? Like, what do the majority of people, how do they feel about it? Has there been any studies or
All I can do is give you examples from my arena, and I am probably closer to it because we're just first. Because everything that I do is mental text. I mean, that's what code is, right? I write code. So there is the full gamut of response. There are people that are saying like, what did I read this morning? There was some guy, it was almost like a Kingsnorth thing. He wanted to go back to the woods. He wanted to like have like little simple computers, and that was his whole, he wanted to start a movement, a manifesto kind of a thing. There are denialists in my field that think that this is never going to work still, which is absolutely crazy to me. And then there are just folks that are trying to get through their day and do what they do, and they have a lot of anxiety. Well, and that's probably the vast majority. And then there are guys like me that go, okay, change is opportunity. If you're willing to go, you better go fast. So, there's that whole class of folk there too. So I've stopped writing code, pretty much. I pretty much just whisper to the AI. So there's just this, I think we're going to see that in all sorts of things. I mean, Anthropic's created Claude for finance, kind of like a tool that kind of focuses on that. We're going to see that stuff too. It's going to happen more and more. The only other anecdotal evidence that I have, my daughter who works for Google lives in San Francisco, and she thinks that the city, and she's been there for like 3 or 4 years. She's lived in San Francisco 3 or 4 years now. She thinks it's the most optimistic time that she's been there right now. So there's some positives too. She thinks it's, obviously this is the center of the universe really stuff. So no wonder there are $1 trillion of investments going in. So yeah, probably nice to be in San Francisco, especially if you have a place to stay that you can afford. So that's all I've got for the most part. I think that average everyday Joe in America doesn't really have too much of a sense yet. Maybe a little, but not. It's all just kind of noise now. It's not like interactions every day. Although, the usage of ChatGPT, everybody uses it, but there's also a notion in the consumer space that ChatGPT has plateaued, it's not that the ChatGPT's actually plateaued. It's the actual use case for ChatGPT that people actually use it. It's already sufficient. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was an interesting way to look at that. So, yes?
I just wanted to share a thought that has haunted me for years. And I was sitting around a campfire with my son and my daughter and son-in-law, and they were discussing, this was before AI was even a presence, about, we were just talking about jobs going away. And that Andrew Yang at that time was presenting a philosophy that everybody deserves an income just because they're here. There's not enough jobs or decent jobs for everyone to have a decent living. And that brings all of society down. So when you think of, you were saying we have to look at things differently. Everybody here in this room probably thinks, like I did, if you don't have a job, then what are you doing wrong? You know, that we are gonna have a highly educated workforce that has no work, no income. So we have to get to a society where you are not identified with productivity. You are fine because you exist. How many of us would be
Universal basic income, I think is the term.
Yes.
Yes. So,
You're allowed
you
to
know,
just
the
exist.
flip side argument, though, is that now you have the most massive welfare state that we've ever had, and those are resources that are misallocated and misapplied and aren't spent very well. And as coming up through capitalism, that'll be a hard one for me.
Yeah.
It will be. And I believe that. I mean, so capitalism is good and hard, but it is a terrible system, but it's better than every other system that's been tried. And I don't know if that goes away. I also will not necessarily yet accept the premise that there will be no jobs.
I'm not saying no, but when you're talking about increasing longevity to 150, wiping out every disease that can take us down,
Yeah.
and various religions saying
Well-
procreate, procreate, procreate,
Well, maybe.
what are you gonna get?
How are you gonna feed all these people?
Well, I don't think they'll have kids, they can't afford it. I think that's the problem with our generation right now, is we're not having enough.
We're not reproducing ourselves now.
20% GDP growth solves a lot of problems. I have to believe that. So productivity can go way up. You know, you talk about food, Malthus, you know, we grow our population to the food supply over here, however it is. You know, if we have a million Nobel's intelligences working on making better crops, you know, maybe we can grow more food. I'm optimistic. I think, you know, there might be different types of jobs, you know, maybe instead of somebody, you know, working on a spreadsheet, now it's like, hey, maybe, you know, art is the thing, and now I've got enough money because the society is raised enough that we can get enough resources that maybe it's something else that matters. And we can live that way. I don't know. I don't have those answers, but I'm also not willing to cede the fact that, you know, we know how to apply resources without price discovery and ownership of assets. I can't go there, but, you know, I'm a cold-blooded capitalist who lives on the edge of AI when all this stuff's going in, so rule the world, right? I'm joking, but I'm also...
Maybe there's a happy medium, maybe there's like a social security.
Agreed, and I'm not sure that the universal basic income is a complete no, but I'm also not assured that it's a complete yes. I think you'd have to get to a place where you see, don't you? I mean, to assume that, and all I can tell you is I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and I've seen and know some people who they were on welfare, and their parents were on welfare, and their grandparents were on welfare, and they didn't starve, but they sure didn't live well. And there has to be some dignity somehow too. So I don't know how we balance that out. Our particular culture has always put dignity with work and your identity, and I don't know if that has to change, and I don't know how to change that, and maybe that's a generational thing that'll occur. I don't know.
Even people who are willing to work can't afford it. I mean, the income inequality is outrageous, so that's not sustainable.
Yeah, but it's an intractable problem in Memphis, I can tell you that. I mean, it's an education problem, it's a resource problem, it's a mindset problem, it's not a simplistic, and this isn't going to be simplistic either.
So, tonight, 15,000 people lost their jobs from Amazon. What are they going to do? What kind of job are they going to get? Because the jobs aren't there. There are no jobs out there. Yeah, you can go work at McDonald's, but that's not going to pay your rent.
I don't know what the Amazon jobs were. I know Amazon way overstaffed in COVID.
We made it possible with easy money back in COVID. Money was made easy and everyone took it and doled it out. Now we're paying the price.
So I don't know that AI was the cause of Amazon's job losses.
Yeah, it was. I said it
Well,
in NPR.
even if they really say it, sometimes I don't believe them. That's we can do it.
If I can ask you like a different question, just to get your thoughts, like we talked about anthropocentrism, or we're worrying about this effect on humans, but do you see a time here within the century, but we have to worry about our effect on, we're talking about giving them maybe morality, and as soon as you combine that with actual robotics, maybe you give them nerve endings, then suddenly do we have to worry about labor laws for robots? And is there any kind of thought on that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
What do we, what are the ethics of, so it was the question about what is ethics, and is there a universal ethics, and is it not just for people? That was one of the core points that I actually didn't get to go to tonight, because I brought up the Amodei thing, and I thought he would probably be better spoken than I was in regards to, but yeah, I think that's a complete issue.
How do we come out?
Well, I mean, if intelligence is a continuum and there's a smart intelligence, and we really get to a place where we believe that, then I don't know how we could not have that. I mean, but then also, does it even have pain? And where is it? I mean, is that a part of it? Oh, I have no idea. Right. It's a great question. Yeah.
The concept that I heard a number of years ago, when talking about intelligence, we think of intelligence as processing data, getting things done, process. But there's another kind of intelligence that's often brought up too, and that's emotional intelligence.
Sure.
And the emotional intelligence is where our ethics and our feelings of love and commitment and community thrive. So I'm worried about that, and we cross over in our brains all the time between what we figure out what to do and what we think should be.
I don't have a complete response to that. I think emotional intelligence is important. I have not ruled out personally the fact that the machine, if you will, the artificial intelligence can't have emotional intelligence. Why couldn't it? If you can have it, why can't it? The premise that I had last week was that there are lots of similarities. Obviously, it's a different substrate, but when you get down to it, there's a model of the world, and we live in that thing, and that's our story, and that's how it works. So nothing precludes that. So as these creators of said thing, we should be very careful with it and hopefully put some of that in there. I think that's what the attempt at the Constitution from Anthropic is, feeble as it may seem. It is that idea, isn't it? Some level, trying to create some personality that has a sense in the direction of that. But somebody's got to put it in there, and they designate themselves to do it. And put all of us in a room, we probably all have a little bit of a difference of opinion as to what those things are. Anyhow, I think that
Thank you, Hayes.
will be it. I'm going to look, because if we don't, then people won't get to go. Thank you all. I've really enjoyed this, and it's been a pleasure.